Welcome to the deep dive. Today we have a truly immense and frankly tragic mission ahead of us. We're going to be sifting through the latest reports on the catastrophic floods and landslides that have just torn through huge parts of Asia. We're talking Indonesia, Sri Lanka, and Thailand. And our goal here isn't just to, read headlines back to you. We're trying to synthesize the sheer, almost unprecedented scale of this and, I think critically, understand the impossible logistical challenges that relief efforts are facing on the ground, like right now.
And we really have to start with the scope,
Hmm.
because this isn't some localized incident. It is a multi-nation crisis.
Right.
It's being driven by these extreme compounded weather systems. And the combined reports, they confirm that this disaster has tragically killed well over 1,300 people across the entire region. And the destruction to infrastructure, it's so widespread, it's threatening to turn this immediate crisis into a really prolonged humanitarian disaster.
Okay, so let's unpack this. Let's start where the devastation seems. Well, most shocking and concentrated, which is Sumatra Island in Indonesia. The first thing that jumps out is the sheer number of people affected. I mean, it's almost hard to believe. We're talking about 3.2 million people.
3.2 million. It's a number that almost hard to process, isn't it?
It is.
It signifies not just displacement, but an immediate regional crisis, economically, socially. And within that, you see the chaotic nature of it all just in the death toll updates.
That's the part that I think tells the real story of the chaos on the ground. The official casualty count has been so volatile, it's been adjusting almost hourly. We saw a figure of, 604 on Monday? Then it just spiked, hitting 708 confirmed killed as of Tuesday.
And there was an even higher number before that, right?
Exactly. Some earlier reports had pushed it even closer to 753 before they had to revise it back down.
And what that chaotic revision tells you, the listener, is just the sheer collapse of government capacity in those zones. When your death toll is fluctuating by nearly 100 bodies from day to day, it means local agencies are completely overwhelmed.
They can't get in.
They can't access areas, bodies are being discovered in new pockets constantly, communication is down. It's a government racing just to count the dead, let alone save the living.
And it's absolutely ongoing. Beyond those 708 confirmed deaths, the latest reports say 504 people are still missing.
Ugh.
Just think about the psychological toll of that. 1,000 people just gone, unaccounted for. And then you have 2,600 people injured, which is just crushing the local hospitals.
And the immediate response to that has to be mass evacuation. The reports confirm 1 million people have been moved out of high-risk zones.
1 million people evacuated.
But these were often reactive, not proactive, because these were not slow-moving floods.
That is the critical detail we found in the survivor accounts. These weren't gradual rises. This was a wall of water and mud moving with terrifying speed.
Exactly. So if warnings were issued, they just didn't get through in time. And that's what amplified the human cost so dramatically.
We have that specific, chilling account of a 17-year-old student, Gahitsa Zahira Kashani.
Yes, at the Islamic boarding school, she described it as just chaotic. And she stressed a point that we're seeing resonate across the whole disaster zone. She said there was no prior warning whatsoever before the water came.
No warning whatsoever.
Imagine that. Hundreds of students fleeing in the dark, and the water comes so fast their only option is to escape vertically, clinging to trees, climbing onto the roof of the mosque, just to survive.
So any preparedness planning, it's irrelevant at that point.
It's completely irrelevant. The first line of defense, the warning, it just fundamentally broke down.
So that total failure plus the speed explains the widespread destruction. It just ensures maximum chaos. Okay, let's pivot from the human impact to the meteorological causes. Monsoons happen every year in this region. So why was this so extreme, so compounded?
Well, this is where the analysis really deepens. We know the annual monsoons bring heavy rains, they trigger landslides. The region is, to some extent, adapted for that.
Right, it's a predictable pattern.
A predictable pattern. But what made this year so devastating was this convergence of the predictable seasonal rain and a completely unpredictable anomalous system.
So something else happened.
Something else happened. This year's downpours were critically exacerbated by a rare tropical storm. And the key is where it formed.
Okay.
It actually formed unexpectedly in the Malacca Strait.
In the Strait, not out in the open ocean.
In the Strait itself, it's rare enough to throw all the regional weather modeling into complete disarray. Tropical storms need that wide open ocean to gain strength. For one to form in a confined waterway like that.
It's like a pressure cooker?
Precisely. You've got the typical monsoon severity, which is already bad, plus this rare, rapid, intense tropical storm. That combination is what pushed the entire region past its breaking point. That unusual storm is what hit Sumatra so hard, and also southern Thailand. That's where the 181 deaths there came from.
And to make the whole picture even more complex, the disaster in Sri Lanka was from an entirely separate storm system happening at the same time.
Yeah, that was Cyclone Ditwa.
So a completely different event. And Sri Lanka's toll is equally devastating. We're looking at 410 killed and another 336 people still missing there.
Wow.
The intensity was enough that President Anura Kumara Dissanayake declared a state of emergency. He actually called it, and this is a quote, the most challenging natural disaster in our history.
I mean, if you think about the logistics of a global response, having 3 major regional disasters at once,
It's impossible.
it stretches every aid organization completely thin. And even though the rains have eased in Sri Lanka, the risk isn't over. Landslide alerts are still in force across that central region because the ground is just so saturated.
So let's focus back on what's happening on the ground now in Indonesia. The logistical challenges. This is how a natural disaster becomes a full-blown humanitarian crisis, right?
It's all about access.
It's all about access. You have 3.2 million people affected, but the response teams, the rescue workers, they can't get to them.
The physical connections are just broken.
They're gone. Reports are saying key roads are blocked, major bridges destroyed. You can have all the aid in the world sitting on an airstrip, but if you can't get a truck across a river, it's useless.
And this is a classic example of that logistical fragility. Unicef specifically called out areas that are now totally inaccessible. Tapanuli Tengah in North Sumatra, Agam in Aceh.
Just cut off.
Completely cut off. And for those communities, the clock is ticking down really, really fast. This infrastructure failure, it translates directly into a humanitarian crisis. When you isolate these large population centers, the supply chain doesn't just slow down, it collapses.
Right.
In ACE, one of the hardest hit areas, markets are literally running out of rice, vegetables, cooking oil, the essentials.
And the economic impact of that is immediate. I saw reports that the prices for the few supplies that are available have tripled.
Tripled. For survivors who have already lost everything.
What does that tell you about the local resilience? It's just gone. It's not just a shortage, it's an immediate poverty trap for people who just lost their homes.
That price spike is the clearest signal of system failure. It tells you local production is gone, transport is gone, and you're likely getting profiteering on top of genuine scarcity.
And the aid organizations are racing against this clock.
They are. Islamic Relief is sending in 12 tons of emergency food, which sounds like a lot.
It does.
But they issued a very dire warning. They said communities are at a severe risk of food shortages and hunger if supply lines are not reestablished in the next 7 days.
7 days, that's the window.
That's the window. It means local food stockpiles are gone. The clock for mass hunger has officially started.
And at the same time, they have to prevent disease, right? It's a two-front war. The Indonesian government has made this huge commitment, sending 34,000 tons of rice and 6.8 million liters of cooking oil to the 3 worst-hit provinces. The tonnage alone just underscores the scale of what's needed.
And this is where an organization like the World Health Organization plays its key role. They're deploying rapid response teams, yes, but just as important, they're strengthening disease surveillance.
The cholera, typhoid.
All of it. Once those floodwaters recede, you have displaced populations in crowded shelters, contaminated water. It's a perfect storm for waterborne disease. They're fighting this multi-front war, trying to get food in within that 7-day window while also setting up sanitation to prevent a second medical wave of crisis.
So we've covered the staggering toll, the compounding weather events causing it, and these severe logistical challenges, blocked roads turning into hunger crises. Let's widen the lens a bit. This wasn't just a bad monsoon. What does an event of this scale really imply for the bigger global picture?
Well, the critical detail here is how the international organizations are officially framing it. It's not being treated as just a tragic anomaly. The World Health Organization's Director General, Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus, he offered a really powerful and pointed perspective on this.
What did he say?
He stated that this event was, and I'm quoting, another reminder of how climate change is driving more frequent and more extreme weather events with disastrous effects.
So he's drawing a direct line.
A direct line. He's synthesizing everything we've just discussed. The normal monsoons getting supercharged by these rare, localized storms like the one in the Malacca Strait, like Cyclone Ditwa, and connecting it directly to this stated trend of more frequent and more extreme weather.
It implies that events of this scale might stop being rare anomalies.
That's the terrifying implication. If climate change is fueling more intense storms in unusual places, then all of our preparedness, which is based on historical patterns, it becomes obsolete.
The old models don't apply anymore.
They don't apply. The historical average for rainfall doesn't matter when you get hit by something that's completely off the charts. And it's a fundamental challenge for planning, for infrastructure, for governance. And when you look back at the survivor counts, like that student saying there was no prior warning whatsoever, it just highlights this deadly combination. Extreme events are arriving faster without the lead time we need for effective warnings, because our models aren't designed to cope with this sudden compounded fury.
So, as we wrap up this deep dive, what does this all mean for you, the listener? We've analyzed a disaster that's affected 3.2 million people in Indonesia alone. It was characterized by terrifying speed, a total lack of warning, and it's led to these critical shortages where they have, what, a week to reestablish food lines to prevent mass hunger?
And the difficulty of that response, it's just magnified by the speed and intensity. If the WHO is right, and these events are becoming the new normal because of climate change, that lack of warning makes effective preparedness almost impossible.
You're always reacting.
You're always starting from a point of complete infrastructural collapse rather than a managed response.
So given everything we've discussed, given that we know infrastructure is being instantly destroyed, access is immediately cut off, and we're facing these recurring compounding weather events, how fundamentally does our long-term recovery planning need to change when speed and total devastation become the new standard? When you can't rely on roads or bridges and warnings fail, what does truly resilient planning even look like in a world of climate-driven extremity? That, I think, is the critical question we're all left to explore.